Hi, this is Patricia Stepler with your Inside Power, part of the Win-Win Network. And I want you to realize that you have so much more power inside of you than you even imagine, and that you can learn to use those powers and turn your life around. That's what your Inside Power is all about. Well, we've been talking the last 7-8 weeks here about prosperity and how to bring prosperity into your life, because you have the opportunity to have abundance. There's abundance all around you. And it's a matter of shifting your mindset in order to get that abundance. So if you haven't watched some of the other sessions that we've done on prosperity, you might want to go back and look at them, because they're going to give you a whole lot more insight and a little more understanding if you follow them in order, because it has been a mostly sequential understanding. So today what I want to share with you is a clear way of how to start to attract that prosperity into your life. Now, remember, you didn't get the mindset that you had overnight. It's been a process of generations in some case, years of experience, being around different people, your thoughts. And so you're not going to shift things overnight, but you can start to shift the way you feel about yourself, which is going to start to eventually shift the frequency that you're on and attract to you the good that you desire. So here's 4 ways to get prosperity to start to come into your life. First thing you have to do is have a clear, concise idea of what it is you want. Sometimes it's a little more difficult than we realize. What happens is we get an idea, and because it doesn't happen quick enough, then we change it to something else. Or we think, oh, that little voice says, who do you think you are? You're asking for too much, you're thinking too high, and you change it. And so we just put confusion out there into the world. So what I want you to do is to get a clear idea that you can stick with for several months, maybe even longer. But you have to have a clear idea. Now you can keep expanding as far as more detail into what that idea looks like. So it might be a number of clients, and you might have an idea of how you're going to service those clients. And you might keep adding more detail. You might get clearer, the age of those clients, their backgrounds, things like that. So you might develop more clarity, but you still have the number of clients that you want to get. So I hope that clears that up. And then what I want you to do is figure out a word pattern, affirmations, paragraphs even, that you can say to yourself day after day that will start to seep into your subconscious mind, because it's your subconscious mind that you really need to change. And that's where those paradigms are. And that's where those thought patterns are. And as long as that group of patterns is there and it's more powerful than your new thoughts, it stays in control. So you have to be able to change the paradigm. Now, as Albert Einstein says, our Buckminster Fuller said, you never change something by just improving upon it. You change something by building a new model that makes the old model obsolete. So you have to have these, we'll say, a mantra that you're going to recite to yourself, or affirmations that you're going to recite over and over and over, the same thing, and your goal that you're going to recite. Now, what I do is I take my phone and I record it on a memo. Some days I read it. Some days I listen to my recording, but I do this every single day. Why? Because when I listen to it, I feel my vibration shifting. Now, there will be times that you'll probably think to yourself, I don't feel like doing it. Have you ever had one of those days when you just didn't feel like yourself? You felt like, it's you just weren't feeling up to it. I had that day yesterday. I had a whole list of things I need to do, and I just wasn't feeling it. And so I took a break, and then I came back and went through what I usually do in the morning, which is reading these things and shifting my vibration, because for whatever reason, something was just not going right. Now, what could happen? Well, we have these 10,000 thoughts. Some people say up to 50,000 thoughts that are running through your mind every single day. So it could have been that whatever sub-programming was going on in my mind that I was not conscious of. So it's an unconscious programming that's going through. And it could have been that that was just pulling me down because that wasn't something I was thinking. So it had to be something underlying in that programming. When you wake up in a day, and I'm sure I've mentioned this in one of the other episodes, when you wake up in a day, you can figure out what kind of thoughts you had during the night because of how you feel. If you wake up excited, ready to go, you've been thinking really positive thoughts throughout the night. If you wake up kind of feeling low, well, maybe your thoughts during the night weren't so good, which could have been part of my problem yesterday too. I don't know. All I know is that when I'm feeling that way, it's up to me to shift it. And so you have to figure out, how can you shift your thinking and your thought process so that you are getting to the point where you want to get to? So we have a clear, concise idea. We have words that we say. Then we have to have faith and belief that it's going to happen. Now, sometimes that can be a problem too, because if we've never really had that experience where we had that faith and belief, then we might start to falter on that. Have that faith. Keep believing in yourself. Now, for instance, you may have a goal that's maybe 3 months out. And so each month you think you're going to make progress. So maybe the first month, that progress isn't there yet, but you're making a pathway towards it. It's not like you've left it behind. So when that happens, just keep moving. Just keep that big goal coming in your mind and realize that what's in the past is in the past, but you're still making progress. So faith is really important. Why is faith important? Well, because if you have no faith and no belief in yourself, then how are you ever going to get it? You see, that's part of your confidence, part of what you need. Now, there's a statement I read one time that says, faith is a substance in things hoped for, evidence of things not seen. You see, faith and fear are both invisible. We can't see faith. We can't see fear. We feel it. But it's a substance of things hoped for, evidence of things not seen. How do you show faith? Well, you show faith by action. And that's the fourth step, is the action. So we have a clear, concise goal. We have the words that we're going to say them, the mantra, the affirmations. We have the faith, and then we have the action. Those are the 4 steps that you need. Now, Bourdon says that to be ambitious for wealth and yet always expecting to be poor doesn't work, does it? To be ambitious for wealth and yet always expecting to be poor, to be always doubting your ability to get what you long for, is like trying to reach east by traveling west. Now think about that for a minute. If we really want wealth, we want that prosperity to come into our life, but we're always thinking about being poor and the impact that has on us, how are we ever going to be wealthy? It's your thoughts. And he says, to be doubting your ability, thinking that you can't get it, and yet you keep longing for it. It's not going to work, right? It's like traveling east, trying to get west, or trying to reach east by traveling west. So when you have thoughts going through your mind, you are attracting that into your life, whether it's what you want or not. So we have to stop saying things like, I don't want to be poor. Switch it to, I see wealth. Wealth is in my life. I attract abundance. The clients, the money, the job, the relationships, whatever it is, keep coming to me. Start seeing in your mind's eye what it is that you want. If you want a great relationship, start seeing that great relationship with that person. Because nothing changes until it changes up here. So we have to start doing that. Every every sentence, listen to this, every sentence spoken of being poor and never rich, of lacking ability, you circle that right into your life. So the words you say, the thoughts you think, even the actions you take, they are an expression of what you believe. And fear of failure kills your efforts. So let's go back. And I know I've shared this before from The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace, where he says, there is a thinking substance, thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which in its original state permeates, penetrates, and fills the inner spaces of the universe. A thought in that substance produces a thing that is imaged by the thought. Man can form things in his thought, and by impressing his thought upon the formless substance, can cause the thing he thinks about to be created. So it's a matter of getting your thought into the formless substance, clear, concise, right? Getting that thought in there, thinking about it, believing, and expecting an abundance. You know, you have to start to get to the point where you believe that God, source energy, whatever you want to call that higher power, wants you to be wealthy. It wants to give you everything that you want. You have to start with that belief. And later on, Wallace says, never look at the visible supply. So never look at what you're seeing in front of you. Never look at your reality in front of you. Look always at the limitless riches in formless substance, and know they are coming to you as fast as you can receive and use them. Know that they are coming to you. It says nobody, by cornering the visible supply, can prevent you from getting what is yours. So what's out there for you is there waiting for you. So all you have to do is start moving towards it, and the good you desire starts moving towards you. So you have to condition your mind to receive what is imaged. How do you condition your mind? By believing, by in your imagination, going to there in your imagination, seeing yourself with the good you desire. See what you're doing. Now, when you're thinking of prosperity, don't just think of, okay, I want to earn $1 million. And all you see is stacks and stacks of million, dollars. Now, what are you going to do with that $1 million? How is that going to benefit you? How's it going to benefit your life? How's it going to benefit your family, your business, your community, society in general? How are you going to use that money? And see yourself with those things. Does that mean an extra trip? Maybe you've been planning a trip to Paris and you see yourself going to Paris now that you have earned that money. See yourself climbing the Eiffel Tower or taking the elevator up the Eiffel Tower. See yourself, there in the atmosphere. I mean, you've seen movies of what Paris looks like. So picture yourself walking the Champs-Élysées or walking the Seine River. See yourself there. And then you can actually start to bring that into your life. Funny thing about that is, I did that. I knew we were going to Paris, and I pictured so much of Paris that when I got there, I'm like, I feel like I've already been here. Well, I had been there in my imagination. Now, believe me, in real life, it was so much better. But I'd seen so many pictures on TV, and I saw everything, the way I thought it looked in my imagination. It wasn't quite that way when I was there in real life. But the thing is, I thought I'd already been there. Now, as I've also shared with you, my other favorite book I've been reading lately by Neville Goddard. And the reason I love Neville Goddard is because while it's not easy to read, when you get into understanding it and you read it multiple times, it starts to open up more awareness. And awareness is what we're really after in life. I was just talking to a lady just yesterday, and she was sharing me, she's working at the with Michael Beckwith's program. And I said, awareness is everything. She said, you're right. We have to be more aware, and that's what we're here for. And if you're not continually growing in awareness, you're really going backwards, because the world just starts to open up to you, and you start to understand and see what most people don't see in life, because you're developing awareness. So in Goddard's book, he says, man does not realize that consciousness is the Father which does the work. So he attempts to express that which he is not conscious of being. So what he's saying here is we express things of which we're not conscious of being. Such struggles are doomed to failure. Only the present expresses itself. Unless I am conscious of being that which I seek, I will not find it. So we have to learn to be conscious and being aware of the person we want to be. And as we become aware of the person we want to be, and we pretend or imagine ourselves to be that person, then that's what we will become. But we have to be aware. So if you never sit down and really think of a clear, concise thing that you want to do, and you never really figure out what it is that you want, you are allowing the world to toss you around like a plaything. And it will toss you whichever way it wants. And then you wonder why things aren't working out for you. Well, because you've never become consciously aware of what you want. And therefore the world just, throws you back and forth. It's no way to live. He says, your claim that you are now that which you want to be will remove the veil of human darkness and reveal your claim perfectly. I am that. So you decide what you want to be, and you say, I am whatever it is. Claim it. Say it into existence. Speak it into existence. That's why we say those affirmations over again. And, when you say an affirmation, make sure you keep it in present tense. I am whatever. I do this or that. Not I will, because I will is putting it in the future. And if you put it into the future, it's not happening now. So you have to keep it into present tense. He says, unless you are conscious of being that which you seek in vain. So you have to be aware of the person you want to be. My clients, I often have them do this worksheet where I have them think about what they would like to do, what they would like to have, and what they would like to be. And sometimes those three intersect perfectly. Sometimes they don't intersect at all. But we have to know what we want to be. Who do we want to be? And I have them write that down, and then we turn that into affirmations in a way that it's not in the future, it's today. So you might want to try that exercise too. Just write down all the things you want. And here's the funny thing. I did this exercise, oh my gosh, probably, I would just say 20 years ago. And then about 10 years ago, I was cleaning out this closet and I found my list. And I started looking at that list. Now, because I wrote down what I wanted to do, what I wanted to have, what I wanted to be, I just started checking off all the things I'd already accomplished. There is something magical in writing things down, even if it's just a list. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but sometimes I'll make a list of what I need to pick up at the grocery store. And then I'll leave my list on the kitchen counter and go to the store. Not on purpose, mind you, but accidentally. And yet, because I wrote it down, I would say when I get home, if I don't have everything on that list, I have probably 95%. There's something magical in writing. So anyhow, I found this list that I had done years prior, And I just started checking things off. And here's the funny thing. The things that I did not check off were still things I wanted or wanted to have or wanted to be or wanted to do. So that meant that I had something clear in my mind, and that clarity was still there. And probably if I went back to that list, if I knew where it was again, if I went back to that list, I'd probably find that I've checked off a whole bunch of other ones too. But it's a good exercise to do, just to kind of get your thinking into thinking of what you want and the good that you desire. Now, Goddard says here, instead of fighting against the evidence of your senses. So the evidence of your senses is the reality that you see in front of you. So instead of fighting against the evidence of your senses, you claim yourself to be that which you desire to be. You see, you don't have to live in the situation you're in. You don't have to live that way. You get to choose. You see, one of the things that as human beings we've been given is a choice. We get to choose. And the fact that you don't choose does not negate the fact that you have a choice. You know, Viktor Frankl, when he was a prisoner in the Nazi concentration camps, he realized that he had a choice, and that they could take away, the Nazis could take away his dignity. They could, starve him. They could beat him. But he knew that they could not take away what he thought in his mind. And he felt that that was one of the things that helped him survive and live through that horrific experience, while other people allowed them to defeat their thinking. But he knew they could not control his mind. So anyhow, back to this. Instead of fighting against the evidence of your senses, you claim yourself to be that which you desire to be. As your attention is placed on this claim, the doors of the senses automatically close against your former master, that which you were conscious of being. Isn't that beautiful? So you focus, you concentrate, which is why step 2, you have that clear idea. Step 1, step 2 is you say what it is and you have that faith. Step 3. So when you do that, you are closing the doors to who you are. And now you're about to open them to who you want to be. As you become lost in the feeling of being that which you're now claiming to be true of yourself, the doors of the senses once more open, revealing your world to be the perfect expression of that which you were conscious of being. Isn't that beautiful? So all we have to do, number 1, get a clear idea, focus on it. Number 2, we are going to have that statement, have that vision going in our head, and we're going to have that faith that's going to happen. And as we do those things, that door to who we are today closes. And all the things around us, the reality that we're currently living in, is but a mere vision of what we wanted it to be. And now we open a door to the world that we want. And pretty soon, when we live in that consciousness of where we want to be, pretty soon, that world and those doors will open, and there we will be living in that new reality. And then guess what you get to do? Build the next thing and do it all over again. You see, once you understand this process, you can repeat it over and over again. And this is the difference between somebody who understands this information and somebody who accidentally falls upon it every now and then. Perfect example of myself. Studied personal development most of my adult life, but never felt like I had successes. But then once I understood this information, I could look back at times when I used it unconsciously, because in the personal development I took, we didn't teach this stuff, but I could see times when I unconsciously used this, but I couldn't replicate it. I couldn't make it happen the second time or the third time, the fourth time, because I didn't understand what I had done. Had I understood it, I could have repeated it and just kept expanding upon it and creating more and more of what I wanted to be, do, and have in my life. But we have this choice, and you can choose to accept this, or you can choose to just run right by it and forget about it. It's up to you. You can condition your mind and to receive these things like gifts coming one after another, or you can choose to allow fear, doubt, worry, disbelief enter your mind and just forget it. It's up to you. You have a choice. This isn't for everybody. And so here's the statement. It says you can't walk in two directions at the same time. Can't do it. You have to have a choice which direction you're going to be. You can't be in light and darkness at the same time. If the room's dark and you turn the light on, well, now you're in light. You can't be in light and darkness at the same time. Consciousness and unconscious. Can't be in consciousness and unconsciousness at the same time. It just won't work. You can't think two thoughts at the same time. You can only think one thought. You can't follow two ideas and get results. You have to choose. You have to make a choice. Are you going to believe that this is the way, or are you not? It says your negative conditions are simply positive conditions in reverse. That's it. Negative conditions are positive conditions in reverse. Poverty is simply prosperity turned upside down. But you got a choice. If you want to have more information, I would check my website out, yourdreampower.com. So this shows your inside power, my website, Your Dream Power. And check that out, because you will probably find some events, or you can also book a call with me if you want to really dial in the information to make your desire clear and concise, and making sure that you're on the right path. Oftentimes when I work with my clients, even though we've gone through goal setting and how to write that goal properly, there's so many things out there that are incorrect. And the biggest one is putting things in future tense. And I'll say, no, that's, I'll help you to rewrite that goal and make sure you're on the right track. Because I want to make sure that you become the power in your life and that you have the magic. It's Patricia Stepler with Your Inside Power. Be the magic.